Yeah, so let's get started. So why don't we do introductions since it's a nice small group right now. And then we'll have Dave start with some updates and I'll share a few updates and then we'll turn it over to all of you. So we'll do popcorn style introductions, just your name, the community you live in, and if you have any special like groups or organizations you want to mention, feel free to. So I'm Maggie Sherwinski from the Active Transportation Alliance, and I live in Chicago, and I will pass it to John Furvoy.
Hi, John Furvoy here from Evanston Transit Alliance. Did I miss any questions?
No, you're good. And just pop it to someone else.
Handing off to Dave Simmons.
Long ago co-workers John and I discovered a couple of years ago. Yeah. So Dave Simmons, live in Elk Grove Village and executive director of Ride Illinois, also involved with Friends of Cycling Elk Grove. Pass it over to Brad Olson.
Hey, can you hear me, everybody? Playing with the video on the microphone here, make sure I got it right. Okay, great. I'm Brad Olson. I'm working with the Park Ridge Sustainability Commission, and bikes are part of our sustainability mission. And trying to hook up with some of you guys, learn what's going on in other communities. Maggie and Dave know we've been pushing the mayor to do more stuff in our community. It's been interesting. So hopefully we can keep the momentum going. Today I'm going to tell you guys about my community ride. So we're on a good path out in Park Ridge. And I would pass it to Ralph to Phoebe.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Ralph Benaziak in Palatine. I'm part of the Bike Palatine Club, and I've been the biking columnist for the Daily Herald since August of 2020. I'll turn it over to Brian.
Well, afternoon, everybody. I'm Brian Larson. I live out in Arlington Heights, and so personally involved with the Arlington Heights Bike Club, but professionally I am the program associate for transportation at the Northwest Municipal Conference, specifically North Shore Council of Mayors. And I'll go ahead and popcorn over to Steve DeBretto is the next person on my list.
Good afternoon, Steve DeBretto. I'm in Vernon Hills, northwest suburbs, relatively unconnected right now, but looking to change that. So I'll pass to Rahat Bari.
Thank you. Steve, Rahat Bari here from the city of Batavia. I work with the city's engineering department here, popping in to see what other communities are doing and kind of get ideas on how we can make the roadways safe for pedestrians and bicyclists. I will pass it on to Daniel Harper.
My name is Daniel Harper from the Village of Bartlett. I'm the village planner there. I'm also the staff liaison to our Bike and Run Plan Advisory Committee. So I'm part of our residents who are advocating for bicycle infrastructure in the city. I'm kind of their conduit to the village board. And I will pass it on to Emily Egan.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Emily Egan. I am the Director of Community Development here in the village of Brookfield. And yeah, we've got a lot of resident advocates for bicyclists, safer planning, and we're working on a lot of new projects. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks. Oh, and I'm sorry, I got in a couple of minutes late, so I don't know who has gone already.
Yeah, I can call on someone, Emily. How about Bob Wagner?
Hello, Bob Wagner, Village of Villa Park, a member of the Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Subcommittee, and a member of Ride Illinois. And want to thank Maggie for the stipend we got for our Bike to Metro event. We're going to retry it in a couple of weeks, but thanks for that help from Active Transportation Alliance.
Great, thanks, Bob. Do you want to send it over to someone else?
You know, I'm having trouble seeing everyone. So
okay, no problem. I can choose someone. Let's pass it to Elliot.
Thanks, Maggie. Elliot Rosson. I'm up in Highland Park, and I'm on the Bike Walk HP, which is a community-based group. I'm also on the Transportation Advisory Group in Highland Park. Been dealing with a lot of interesting topics, trying to get bike lanes on Green Bay Road, develop a complete streets policy, and replace a major pedestrian bicycle bridge over Route 41, which is a multi-million-dollar, multi-year affair. And I'm also on the board of Active Trans.
Great, Elliot. Did you want to pick someone else? I can if you.
Yeah, sure. Allison.
Hi, everyone. Allison Hanson, Illinois Medical District. We are doing a lot with our bike, ped, and roll plan. We love working with Ben Harris. He's helping us as well. And we have a great website. I don't know that we've shared it with you all, but we're really trying to understand the bike, ped, roll issues within the Illinois Medical District. We're bounded by Oakley, Ashland, Congress, and the intermodal on 13th Street, so just west of the city. So we are looking for input and advice. And so this is a great group, and you might be able to inform us. Thank you. And I joined a little late, Maggie, so I don't know who's gone already.
Yeah, I can pass it on to, let's see, Elizabeth.
Hey everyone, I just joined, having some technical difficulties. I'm gonna keep my camera off. I'm joining, I guess we're just introducing ourselves, where we're from.
Yeah.
I represent Ride of Silence Chicago, and am a local LCI here, doing a lot of work with Ride Illinois.
Great, and Elizabeth, do you want to pass it to someone else?
I don't know who hasn't gone since I just joined the group, so.
Okay, I'll do it.
Meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah, right. How about Ralph DeFibo?
Hi, Maggie. Hello, everybody. It's interesting to be in a group that has another Ralph in it. It's sort of an unusual happening. I've been working for quite a while on trying to get the Prairie Path extended from west of First Avenue in Maywood to the Blue Line in Forest Park. I think that we're having good progress with it. It's just wait and see at this point. Other than that, I was asked to sit on the Prairie Path board. So that's something that I'm very, very new to, like half of a meeting. But other than that, I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say or what the group's about.
Thanks, Ralph. Ralph, do you want to?
And Maggie, I'm gonna ask you because I can't see everybody.
Okay, yeah, no
Sorry.
problem. Let's see who else has not gone. Tom Lucas.
Hi, everybody. Tom Lucas. I'm also with Bike Palatine. Ralph and I work pretty closely together. I'm actually a Hoffman Estates resident and trying to find ways to better connect our area in Hoffman on the north side of the toll road where I live. It's a wonderful small biking community that you can't get out of. So between that and what we've been trying to do in Palatine, that's my new game, and I've got a new amount of time on my hands, so I want to get more involved with this stuff. And I'll let you pass it, Maggie.
Okay, yeah. How about Ben Harris? You haven't gone yet, have you?
Hi, Ben Harris, represent the Skokie Bike Network. Also, thank you, Allison, working with the Illinois Medical District, working with Ride Illinois for Pedal the Preserves, licensed LCI, and a shout out to Elizabeth, who was my basic bicycling course instructor pre-pandemic. So she's a force to reckon with, and just kudos to her.
Thanks, Ben. And then I think Ginger. You there?
Hello.
There you are.
Getting here. Hi, I'm Ginger Wheeler. I am the president of the Friends of the East Branch DuPage River Trail, EBDRT. I'm also on the board of Ride Illinois. So East Branch DuPage River Trail is a long planned since the 1980s, but never fully developed bicycle trail that would connect to the regional trail network and bisect DuPage County north to south in the middle of the county. It's kind of a big square, so think of a line right in the middle. And I've been working on this for 9 years. Right, Illinois, our Active Trans has been great, helping us think of ways to make it happen. We got some good news last night. One of our key connections is fully funded. And by DuPage County, that would be the part from the Great Western Trail to the Illinois Prairie Path. They just have a lot of major obstacles in the way, including a railroad, a tollway, a wastewater plant, and a couple of streets that nobody really understands who governs because they're in unincorporated DuPage County. But we think it might be Lombard or Milton Township. But I know they're looking into it. They got the funding. Now they just got to figure out how to do it. So that's my story.
Great. That's a great update, Ginger. Thanks. Good news. All right. Did everyone go, or did we miss anyone? Didn't get a chance to introduce themselves? I think we got everyone. So with that, why don't we, I'll pass it over to Dave for some Ride Illinois updates.
Yes, thank you, Maggie. Good to see everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to share just a few updates here. I was out of town last week on our Grand Illinois bike tour, so I am playing serious catch up, but I did jot down some things that may be of interest to this group. You may be familiar with our Bike Safety Quiz mini grant program. It has far exceeded expectations and budget this year in the tune of about 62,000 students across the state. So we had funding for just shy of 56,000. We're looking to get creative to fill that funding gap. Funding came from IDOT. So good news for sure that more students than ever are taking the Bike Safety Quiz. A challenge for us to figure out how to fill that gap. Let's see, Secretary of State, and some of these are things that we're partners with Active Trans on. So Active Trans was involved in a conversation with the Secretary of State in, I was like middle of May. It was a great conversation, and he actually, Secretary Janulius, attended the entire meeting. What advocacy orgs for the most part, we pulled together more than 20 strategies related to things that are under the Secretary of State's purview. Our suggestions, right? So they're coming from advocates, but we had to share them anyway. So things like updating the driver's exam, offering continuing education to motorists because we know that laws and infrastructure changes. Registration fees based on vehicle weight. You know, some of these things kind of lean into the potentially contentious area, but those strategies were shared. We'll be following up again, but the secretary himself does enjoy getting out on his bike, and he enjoys walking. So we feel like he will be hopefully a strong advocate for some of these changes. Let's see, and Maggie, I hope to not steal any thunder here. I'm just going down some of the conversations that have been meaningful, including several with IDOT. Perhaps you were able to attend the Vulnerable Road User Safety Assessment meetings that were a couple weeks ago. That is mandated by the bipartisan infrastructure law, but IDOT is putting forth, seems like a very concerted effort, including working with a consultant on that. And there is an upcoming deadline, which I'm guessing most of you are familiar with, but June 30th is a deadline to add pins to the map that they are going to use as part of that Vulnerable Road User Safety Assessment. So if you haven't done it already, I'll put a link, or if you have the email sitting in your inbox, do take the time to review that map. Let's see, conversations with the Illinois State Board of Education have been very productive. The focus is safe biking and walking curriculum that schools can use. So the challenge will be funding, though now that Safe Routes to Schools funding can be used for non-infrastructure. ISB is very interested in tapping into some of that funding to develop more so, they don't develop, they approve curriculum So we've offered them some sources that may lead to some curriculum schools can tap into. Let's see, e-bike rebates or incentive program, nothing necessarily new there, though just literally in the last week, we've gotten 5 emails. Maggie Alex Perez has been on some of these about, how do I get a rebate? I see your article about getting an e-bike. One person has epilepsy, another person can't, is low income. Another person had another physical condition, but can use an e-bike. So we're actually going to collect these stories and share them with the elected officials who expressed interest as means of inspiring them to try again in the next legislative session. Let's see, a couple other things. Right, Illinois, our board just adopted a new strategic plan. We haven't been shouting it from the rooftops yet. It's just one step of a larger process. The number one goal in that plan, and I want to make sure I read it properly, but is to greatly reduce and ultimately eliminate bicyclist fatalities in Illinois. How that's going to happen, who's going to be involved, all that is yet to be determined. Our board is meeting in a couple weeks and we'll be appointing board members to committees. We're also welcoming Right Illinois members to join a committee. So if that's of interest to you, you've got some good ideas. It's events and programs, fundraising and membership, education, advocacy, governance and nominating. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Finance. So we're really trying to expand kind of that pool of folks who can help point the organization in the right direction. Ben will, I'm sure, talk about the Pedal the Preserves event with the Forest Preserves of Cook County, so I'll let him do that. So then the last thing I wanted to mention is our fun new campaign. I don't know if you can see this. I can bike there. So this is a partnership with Working Bikes and an app called Points, Pointz. Brian, I think you just submitted a photo. What we're asking of the public is to tell us about how you use your bikes for everyday trips, right? Because we know biking for transportation and everyday trips is where it's at when it comes to societal impact. So we're gaining some traction. We're posting every day. People are submitting photos. It's been kind of fun. There's no cost. It's not a fundraising effort. It's really just an awareness thing. So we have stickers and buttons. Right now we're kind of partnering with community bike shops. So Working Bikes, Bike Peoria, West Bloomington Bicycles. I can't remember the name of that. Elgin Community Bikes, because we feel those are fertile ground for people who are using their bikes for utilitarian purposes. So if you're out riding a bike and you're using it for transportation, send us your photos, send us a few details. We hope this can just be kind of an ongoing, empowering message through the I Can Bike There campaign. That's what I got, Maggie. I'm going to put some links in the chat, and I guess I'll send them to you because you're always so good about sending follow-ups.
Yeah, perfect. Ralph, did you have a question for Dave?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
Dave.
sorry, I was adjusting my screen.
Oh no, the other Ralph. Sorry, Ralph.
The other Ralph.
We're going to
I
have
told
this
him I'm
problem.
used to it.
We're going to have this problem forever. Yeah, I always respond when somebody says Ralph. I'm the only guy in the room. Dave, is the next quarterly Right Illinois meeting coming up? Is it also virtual?
Yes, it's on July 10th. Let me just confirm before I speak. It is on our calendar. Yeah, 6:30 July 10th. It will be a virtual meeting this time.
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Great.
Any other questions, or I'll look through chat, but thank you, Maggie, for allowing the update, and thanks for all you're doing out there, everybody.
I have a question for you, Dave. When you guys organized that like check signing thing with Raja Krishnamurthy,
yes,
what was that like, and how did you do that, and why did you do that?
Sure. Yeah, and actually I wasn't able to attend because I was heading to Gibbet. That started 2 years ago when we went to the National Bike Summit. We made a connection with his staff. He happens to be my member of Congress, so I've spoken with him many times, and one of his staffers came out and we did a bike tour, if you will, a light tour of district. So there's been a connection, right? So they then reached out after the National Bike Summit and said, hey, we we got this funding to expand the bike network in Streamwood based on the Streamwood Bartlett bike plan. And we'd like to, do something about it. We'd like to, kind of get the word out and make a thing about it. So we kind of met a couple would Ride Illinois organize a short community bike ride. Like, how do we make it all happen? So that was it was really a promotional thing to thank Congressman Christian Morthy for getting that earmark for funding.
Is that something we could do with Caston for the EBDRT?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You think? Could you guys, could Ride Illinois sort of organize it?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't been as involved, but we can certainly use kind of what we learned from this past experience. And Maggie and Active Trans, you all might have ideas too.
Yeah, I mean, we are all involved in this. We do have a $1.5 million check on the way, allegedly. They say it's coming for sure, but
I think here's what we might do, Ginger. I feel like the event last weekend or 2 weeks ago was successful because it came from the elected official.
His office.
So yeah.
So float it to them and then
say what you let's celebrate. We can help. Let's do a little ride. Let's do
Okay.
Kind of let him have the idea or his staff, and then we can help.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, I think it's a great idea to make sure to celebrate all the successes. So I think often we're just like fighting things, but it's great to celebrate too. So all right, so a few updates from me before we pass it along to you. So let's see. Oh, I wanted to give you a quick update about this, like all of the bills that were in the legislature this past spring, and the 3 that actually passed. So just wanted to kind of give you a summary of each of those 3, and just so you're aware. And these are bills that were new laws that we're going to be monitoring, and these were, we were advocating for these. Ride Illinois was advocating for these. So many partners. We had lobbyists in Springfield pushing these through, talking to a lot of different players. But so the three bills. So we've got one that is going to be prioritizing safer intersections. So that was SB 2278. And so previously, Illinois law mandated that intersections had to be designed to accommodate 65-foot supersized trucks, which are relatively rare, but they were limiting the space that was available in an intersection to accommodate pedestrians, bicycle infrastructure. And just as an example, a typical bus is 40 feet. So 65 feet is very large. So this bill establishes that all intersections in a city no longer have to be built to accommodate that supersized truck. And now local communities have the power to design intersections with people in mind. There's just more flexibility in design. So there are a lot of intersections you don't have giant trucks turning into like neighborhoods, for example. So I've heard we've heard from a lot of engineers that this was just a big problem when any type of road was being designed in the past. So we're very excited about that bill. There's also a bill just about safer roadways on state-controlled roads. So that is SB 2014. So it basically changes our state's approach to road construction. So it requires IDOT to develop a policy for improving infrastructure conditions on state roads to if the street is undergoing maintenance, like resurfacing. So this could mean looking at that state road, and installing refuge islands, curb extensions, protected bike lanes. So we're gonna have to see how this actually works in practice, but it's still an exciting step in what we feel is the right direction for safer roads. And then the last one is about fatalities. So just for context, in 2021, Every day in Illinois, 230 people were injured in traffic crashes and 3 people were killed in traffic crashes. So that's every day in our state. So this bill, it was HB 2131, will establish a zero fatalities task force. And that task force will bring together a diverse set of stakeholders, including advocacy organizations, and to create policies to eliminate traffic deaths in the state. So again, we'll be monitoring all of those to see, how things develop and make sure that the intent of those bills is followed. And I see Ralph B, you have a question.
I have 2 questions actually. On the both the 2278 and 2014. Do those just apply to state roads?
Yeah. So right, that's correct. So 2014 is state roads only. 2278 is for really any road that touches a state road. So that it's just looking at intersections.
So an intersection that a state road crosses.
Yeah.
Could be a local road.
Right.
Right. A county road. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Brad?
I just wanted to ask you quick, you mentioned those statistics. Those are not specific to bike and pedestrian. Those are all injuries.
Right. Those are all injuries. I have some data on bike ped fatalities, like kind of, and I don't have that. They're not
Just
top of my
curious
head, but I can
listen.
find them and put those in the follow-up email. But yeah, that was all traffic crashes. All right, so then a couple other updates. So Safe Routes to School funding, I'm trying to like spread this news far and wide that funding opportunity is going to be available starting August 1st. And this year it's 100% funding. So local communities don't have to pay any type of local match, which is often a barrier to applying for funding. So that's an exciting development. And also high schools are included this year. Previously, it was only middle schools and elementaries that could get Safe Routes to School funding. So now it's high schools. And we're going to be working with IDOT to put a webinar series together starting in July 12th. So feel free to share that with your municipal staff or county staff and share with others. And Bike the Drive, that's our big fundraiser. That is September 3rd. So save the date for it. It's where Lakeshore Drive is for bikes only for a few hours. So love to see you there. I'll be working somewhere on the route. I know some of you have stopped by in the past, so it's always nice to see some friendly faces. And we're doing a trail webinar series. So Ralph D, he was a part of that webinar series in May, and it was about the Des Plaines River Trail and all of the different segments. So I'll make sure to send out the recording of that. And it's just an update on like what's going on. There's lots of studies and projects going on. And, we're really trying to push forward. We would love to see a connected trail, or at least a route that is safer for people walking and biking. And then our next trail webinar is next week, Thursday, June 29th, and it'll be about Chicago's Southside trails. So it'll highlight the Bronzeville Trail, the Englewood Nature Trail, which they're elevated trails. It'll highlight Lake Calumet Bicycle Pedestrian Bridge and the Burnham Greenway. So also kind of looking into the south suburbs. And the Major Taylor Trail. So please join for that. And then one other thing I'm going to actually share my screen. And this is just a tool that I wanted to make sure you're all aware of to see, and it could potentially help with advocacy efforts but it's a map, and it's a map of plans and policies related to walking and biking around our region. And as well as a map of who's received funding for like ITAP or Safe Routes to School or other state, federal, local funding. So it's potentially a way to say like, oh, look at our neighbors, like they have all of these policies and plans and they've received all this funding, but we haven't, like what's going on? And also maybe looking at like, what are our neighbors doing and how can we make sure we're connecting to our neighbors? So let me just share my screen just so you have a quick visual of what I'm talking about. So 1 second. All right. So we worked with, it was the Metropolitan Planning Council and the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus on this. So it's this bike pedestrian database. And there's these 4 buttons you can click. So plans and policies. So this brings you to a map. Oops, goodness. A map of our region. Where are we? We're down here. So you can kind of see it's color coded. So this is currently selected as comprehensive plans that include some bike pedestrian reference. So you can see the blue communities all have such a plan, the red don't. There's bicycle pedestrian plan, which we really try to encourage communities to develop one of these, because it's a great way to just set community priorities and bring funding into your community, so you can see who does and doesn't have a plan. And basically, so there's lots of different, there's a complete streets policy link, and if a community has a bike pedestrian committee, there's lots of different area policies and plans you can select. But down here, there's a table, and you can kind of click around to get more details. So you can, it actually links to the plan. So actually, let me just bring this back. I'll just randomly click on community. So Lombard. So you can click, so there's a link to their comprehensive plan. There's a link to their bicycle pedestrian master plan. So just lots of details are here. And it's just a reference point for you. And then if I can go back, just wanted to show you the other one. So this second button, this is regarding funding, which I think is pretty interesting. So this is showing you different grants. So ITEP grants, who's received, I think I have to unclick. So who's received ITEP grants, so you can kind of see the scattering, and it also shows you it's colored by the amount of grants communities have received. So we could click one here, Streamwood, and it's showing you the number of grants they've received, the total funding, and then a little, what is this, a pie chart kind of showing the distribution of funding. So surface transportation funding for bike ped, ITEP funding, and transportation alternative program funding. And then there's also a map on sidewalk coverage. So this was CMAP collected this data, and it shows you the percentage of streets that have sidewalks in a given community. So that's a little more simple map. And then also there is this is not a map, but it's just a database of for the counties, and which counties have different plans, like a bike pedestrian plan, and it also links to those plans. So stop sharing. So I'll make sure to send that link out to you all, and would love to hear if it's useful at all to any of you, but we thought it was important to have some type of database and a place to easily reference what's going on in our region. And CMAP, our regional MPO is going to be taking over that map. So then if there are any updates that need to happen, you can contact CMAP and they will update. So with that, that's all I had. So any questions? Yeah.
What was the date of the bike drive?
Oh, Bike the Drive is September 3rd.
3rd. And that's early in the morning?
Yeah, very early. It's gosh, what time does it start? I should know this. Elliot, do you know, is it 5:30?
I think it's 5:30.
Yeah, and it goes until 10:30, 11. I'll send out the actual appropriate details. I should know those, but yes, it's an early morning event.
And how to register as well?
Yeah, I'll send out the link of how to register.
Or volunteer.
Or volunteer, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit later because it is Labor Day weekend and the sun is setting sooner at Labor Day than it would at Memorial Day. So it might be closed. Usually it opens at 5:30, but I'm thinking that it's closer to 6:15 or so.
Okay, yeah, we
Because
might
they
have
don't- they-
adjusted it. You're right.
Yeah, they don't let anybody out until sunrise, so that
Right.
is a guarantee.
But it's really nice to see the sunrise that morning. It's really beautiful and very peaceful, very quiet. And but Elliot, did you have a question?
No, I was just saying it was pretty dark when we got out last
Oh, yeah.
year. There were a lot more people out there too before we got out. So I have a question about the mapping and CMAP. Do you have a contact person because CMAP's pretty big, like
yes.
who to talk to if you have a correction to something on that
Yeah,
map?
so right now the Hugo Coronado, he is at MPC. He's there to help update the map until it transitions to CMAP, so I can share his contact with you.
Okay.
So in the so if there's an immediate update, but in the future it will be CMAP, and it'll like have that information will be on the map, but that's Hugo's contact in the chat.
Great.
Brian, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the Bike to the Drive event. I know Metra last year did a last minute announcement that they're going to be having additional service that morning. Do you know if there's going to be a similar offering for the communities?
Yeah, I
Given the
remember.
early nature.
Goodness. I think that our events team is trying to work with them. I haven't heard an update, but I can try to find out more. Oh, thanks, Elliot or Dave. Thank you, Dave. The event is 6:30 to 10:30, and then there's a festival afterwards. All right. So with that, I know.
Will there be any posters for Bike to Drives, for instance, to be put in bike shops? We at Working Bikes would be happy to put one up, and I go to a lot of bike shops collecting bikes, Green Bay Cycles, Glenview Cycles, George Garner, so forth and so on, and I could look to distribute those if that would be a good way to do it. I mean, you could mail them too, I guess, if you had outreach to bike shops.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I will I'll talk to our events team and I'll get in touch with you, but thank you for offering to do that.
Great.
All right. So now I want to turn it over to all of you for updates and questions, whatever's on your mind. So I know Brad, we had emailed earlier and you wanted to share a bit about some events you're organizing.
Yeah, I actually would like to touch two topics if we could. I'll try and take all your time, but I wanted to mention everybody, because I'd probably mentioned it here in the past, that we are working on organizing community rides in Park Ridge. It's small at this point, but we would love to have any of you out-of-towners as well to come juice our numbers and make it look like a bigger, more successful event so we can continue to grow it. We're using a platform some of you have used, a lot of the bike groups use it, called meetup.com. And I sent Maggie a link which she could pass around, but if you go on meetup.com and you just do a search on Park Ridge Community Bike Ride, our group should come up. And we had a first ride on June 10th, small but very successful. Everybody enjoyed it, riding through city streets, slow roll pace, so everybody's welcome kind of thing. And we're going to do it again on July 15th. Which also happens to be a day of Taste of Park Ridge, so you could always stay for the festival if you wanted. But anyway, we're excited about that. We're starting, it's kind of small at this point, but we're hoping to grow it, and it just to help publicize and get more city attention, right, to show them there are people in the community that do bike and do care about these things. And that leads me quickly to my second topic, which is I would be interested in any of you that have any information, documentation, references, links about places where the rectangular flashing beacons are being used successfully and why, and particularly if any municipalities or other organizations have guidance. I mean, I think there's some of the National Highway Association and stuff has a limited amount of guidance, but long story short, in Park Ridge, we are proposing they put some beacons in some places. And one of the questions that's come up is, we need a citywide policy, right? We don't want to do this haphazardly where one busy road gets one and one lightly used road doesn't. I mean, they want to have a policy about it. So I'm sort of looking for resource material, research kind of thing on that, anything I could use to support some of my discussions with the city. So I'm not sure anybody would have that, but if anybody does, I'm very interested. I'm personally going to otherwise do some typical old school research, drive around the municipalities around me and take some pictures and do that sort of thing as well.
Hey, Brad, real quick on that, actually came up in a recent meeting with IDOT, and I'm trying to think of the context, but recommended on 2-lane roads. They no longer recommend those on 4-lane.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Okay, so we have an area.
Carlos Feliciano with IDOT, he's actually usually on these calls, right, Maggie? He would be a good resource because he was the one who answered that question.
Yeah, Carlos, what's his last name?
Feliciano, I'll text you.
Yeah, text me his contact. That would be great. That would be great. Yeah, I would love to do that. That's exactly the kind of discussion that's coming up. We have one we proposed. It's across from high school. It is a 4-lane road. It's an IDOT road, I think, too. And they were saying, oh, we're not sure about 4-lane road if you don't have room to widen it out for the center island at least. Because they're saying 2 lanes, you can pretty much stop, but it's hard to stop all 4 lanes and there's some safety risk there. So anyway, we're pursuing that. We are also, just as an FYI, pursuing some Shero painting around town. Not the biggest thing, but we haven't done much in our community in a while. So it's a start and I'm hoping to go more from there, you know. So that's the updates from Park Ridge. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, how long are those community rides?
Less than an hour. I think last time we did about 7.5 miles at 8 to 10 miles an hour. So it's probably 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah, I know you talked about coming out. We would sure love to have you, but anybody would love to have all of you.
What was the date of that, Brad?
I'm trying to do it on a Saturday, July 15th on 1:30 p.m. As you know, holiday weekends are very busy for people, kids with soccer. So there's been a lot of debate about the dates and times, but figure
that was the 15th.
Yeah, July 15th.
1-5.
Yep, a couple weeks from now on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. and we start out of Wheel and Sprocket in Park Ridge. So it's pretty easy to find.
All right, thanks, Brad. So I see in my chat. So Elliot, you wanted to ask the group?
Yeah, so we have a very interesting situation in Highland Park where we have some very strong opposition to anything to do with bicycles right now due to a dispute over a bike lane in Green Bay Road. And so if you're on Facebook or Nextdoor, you'll see videos of cyclists going through stop signs, and you'll see contentious back and forths between cyclists and drivers. And so we're trying to be proactive in addressing this and kind of turning, because we're not going to say that we're perfect and that just isn't going to fly. And even though cars go through stop signs at an alarming rate too, that still isn't a good answer. So we're trying to reframe it as it's all about safety, public safety, and how do we improve public safety for the greatest number of people and for the most exposed. And safety has always been something, a value that everybody pretty much shares. No one says, oh, I don't believe in public safety, right? So there's IDOT data on crashes, which is published every year about this time, which goes by city, by county, which is interesting in looking at crashes. But in our community, 97% of the crashes are cars against cars. And like 2% include pedestrians and 2% include bikes. Yeah, I know it doesn't add up to 100, but we're rounding. Anyway, but that doesn't really capture what's happening out on the road in terms of the vulnerability of riders. It's just saying that, a small number of bicyclists, fill out the police form every year because you have to fill out a report to get it recognized. It does show that, the majority of incidents are car related, which is valuable. But one of the things we're trying to understand is like, what's the actual usage of our roads? And we've done surveys, and the surveys are inherently not good research because if you don't pick the right place, the right time of day, the day of the week, And if it rains, one year and does not, the next year you have bad data. We did that, been there, done that. It's terrible. I've done a lot of research in my life. So I know there's some systems that you can buy or borrow or rent that provide kind of real data on, say, bicycle traffic. And one of the ideas is to maybe, but it's pretty expensive, I think, for a city to do. I know some cities have done some of it, but if, say, a consortium of cities would get together and buy a system and share it. So, because you don't need to have it, every day of the year, just too much data. So I'm wondering, one, does anybody have kind of experience with these systems and have some names? And is that something that people might have an appetite for in their community? Silence. Oh no.
Yeah, Elliot, I think I share the same concern about the dearth of data of the actual utilization of bike trails and roads and bike paths. And I've looked into it a little bit. It is expensive, and to get really good data. I've talked to Mike Kerr with Chris Burke Engineering about it, and he had some suggestions of some tools. But again, it's an issue of getting the resources. But I think if you were interested in having a shared kind of effort, I would be, I'm in Skokie. I would be very interested in, pooling resources, or, if there was some economies that we could realize from having a shared effort, I'd be very interested in doing that. You're on mute, Elliot.
In Highland Park, we're kind of at the junction between kind of the North Chicago, Evanston area and kind of away from the city. And so we get a ton of riders on Saturdays and Sundays riding through Highland Park in many ways. And we have some respectful groups, and we have some incredibly disrespectful groups, which make it terrible for all of us. But data we don't have. We'd love to be able to say, there's thousands of riders on Sundays coming through, these sections. And we can't ignore them. They're going to come through. So how do we, address it and try and, do some enforcement that would be valuable?
Maggie, are there grants available for purchasing infrastructure counters like that?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I can try to dig into that, see if any of the grants that I'm aware of, like if that type of item.
Yeah, I know IDOT's uncertain about that either. That's something I did an initial ask of them, but need to dig into as well.
I feel like Kane and Kendall County have some type of counter, or the Forest Preserve does. So I'd be curious. Maybe I can find a contact there. We can see if we can get more details from them as well.
Maybe we can, when you send out the summary of today, you could put in a question to people who have experience or names or companies that are doing it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll definitely do that, because someone's got to know more. Okay, well, thanks, Elliot, for bringing that up.
Yeah, and I don't know if people are interested in that IDOT data. I can send a link to say to where to get it. Just because it's pretty interesting. You have to dig through it a little bit. I basically came up with I think I might have shared it once with you, Maggie, summary of statistics, so that you don't, when you're talking to city council people, they don't freak out by the amount of information. But it's, it is what it is. You can compare yourself to your county. You can compare it to Illinois overall to see how you differ. And it does show injuries, crashes, and deaths for each of the different modes and breaks it down by all sorts of different dimensions.
And is that by municipality, Elliot?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be great.
Maybe you could provide that link to everybody, Maggie, in the
Yeah.
summary.
Yeah, will do. All right. Anyone else have anything they want to share, bring up?
Maggie, can I ask a question? I
sure.
think it was Ginger that brought up a connection between the Illinois Prairie Path and the Great West Trail. Was that right? She said it was just funded.
Yes. So this is for the East Branch DuPage River Trail, and it is funded in the DuPage County 5-year plan to make a connection between Great Western Trail and Illinois Prairie Path along the branch of the river. So it would run through Churchill Woods Forest Preserve. And then the big thing is how to get through these barriers of 2 streets and the railroad.
But
So
Ginger, didn't you say there was some funding that just got approved to do part of that?
So the county is funding that part 100%. And
that's $500K?
No, it's in their 5-year plan. I'm not sure of the amount, to tell you the truth. I don't know exactly what they put in the plan, but I know it's funded and budgeted. And it's going to be paid for 100% by DuPage County.
That includes construction.
It's a 5-year plan, so
it's more the planning of it.
It's on their website,
Okay.
So it's available if you look in their their transportation plan, their 5-year transportation plan. We checked it last night. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's in there somewhere.
Okay.
And then we got a $1.5 million grant from the federal government, which DuPage County will then add 20%. So it's an 80-20 match. It comes through IDOT. So apparently IDOT has tons of these grants. They're doling out, and DuPage County's done all what they need to do to get it. It's just a matter of now IDOT granting it to them. And then they'll add 20% per the requirements. And that part is to commence phase 1 engineering between the Illinois Prairie Path and Butterfield Road to the south, which is about 6 miles, I think. So that's phase 1 engineering, which is going to involve public input, environmental studies, alignment, plotting, blah, blah, blah. The biggest challenge here is the public input and the opposition, because there is opposition. It's a lot of NIMBY groups, and that's the part that we need to deal with mostly. Like, they come up with all kinds of reasons why we shouldn't build a bike trail, including cutting down thousands of trees. It's not true. Rapists and pedophiles, not true. Ruining playgrounds, not true. What other reasons do they come up with? So many, so ridiculous. But nevertheless, we need to deal with these oppositions. We need to better understand what the opposition is, what the fears are, and then address them systematically. And the county has to do that, and that's part of phase 1 engineering. It's my understanding.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's been a long journey, 9 years. And we still don't have a shovel in the ground. We're working on it though.
You're getting there, Ginger. You're doing great work for the region. So, I would like, speaking of just opposition and pushback, I was thinking maybe in like next month or just sometime this summer, maybe we could have a special Zoom meeting that's focused on that topic, and just kind of brainstorm together ways to reframe things, kind of what Elliot was talking about, reframing towards safety and just like different strategies, and thinking also about like what would be helpful, like what do we need to, what's needed to, what resources are needed, what tools are needed, what is there training needed, what could we, what can we think up that would be helpful? So
all of the above. And also, I think one thing I think would be helpful too, once in a while we get the money opposition, which is so ridiculous because trail costs are just a teeny percentage point of a road. And I would love to know, like, what's the average cost? Like recently they redid the intersection at North Avenue and the tollway at 355. It was a massive construction project. And they widened the road and they added new stoplights and they built gas stations. And, you know, it was this massive thing. Took a couple of years. And I would just love to know, what did that cost? They widened one intersection. My guess is more than the whole trail for 32 miles, but I don't know.
Yeah,
but like, it would be interesting to show people, oh, you're worried about you know, the money to build a trail. Well, they just redid North Avenue intersection, one intersection, and this is how much they spent. I don't know the answer or how you figure that out. I wish somebody would tell me. Tell me the number.
It's
not
out
how
there.
to do it.
I'll see if
I
I
want
can
someone
track
else to
that
do it.
down. Because all those RFPs, all that data is publicly available. We'll see if I can track that down for you, Ginger.
I mean, like, I know that the new trail connection they just built at the Forest Preserve in Donata, they put a stoplight to cross Butterfield Road, and the engineer was at this event. I went to the ribbon cutting, and he said it was about $30,000 just for the stoplight to cross Butterfield Road, which I thought, wow, that's not that much, you know. But yeah.
Yeah,
we need a bunch of those.
maybe an infographic with like a few projects and like the cost.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Just to compare a trail to a road. And I don't know if anybody's been on 294 lately, but OMG, they're doing on 294 is an absolute mind boggle. Like, it must be billions of dollars they're spending on that.
They collect tolls for a reason.
Oh yeah, I guess that's a tollway, so we pay for it. We suburban drivers, right?
Yeah, but then if you go right alongside it on 290 between Hillside and Elmhurst, it ain't so much fun either.
And where's the active transportation access on that project? I don't see it.
All societal priorities.
Right.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
Plus it's going into, I think that's called, is that Busey Woods there along, like in the Hinsdale area? I wonder how many trees they chopped down in Busey Woods to make that wide net tollway there. I bet it looks like they chopped down a bunch, but we'll see.
Brian shared
Yeah.
a link in the chat, Ginger, about the price of that project.
Ooh, what's that bridge?
This is the North Avenue Bridge over 355. So it's not like the project you were talking about.
But it was that, I mean, is that everything or is that just the bridge? Like, what about all the rest of it?
Says deck joint repairs, replacing deteriorated curbs, a new deck overlay, and approaches. So that sounds like that would be the entirety, but I don't know. Great question.
Actually, that doesn't sound like that much for all they did. So that's good on them. They're being very frugal. Thanks for sharing that. That's helpful.
All right, so it's 1 o'clock. So I know there's plenty more to discuss, but I think I'll work on organizing some type of session where we can dig more into dealing with opposition. And Rahat, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do, and thanks for letting me talk. So one of the things, and you guys all probably know the couple of unfortunate events that we had in Batavia in last 4 weeks or 6 weeks. What we are trying to do is we are finding out that obviously we need to step up education for both motorists and pedestrians and bicyclists. But often we find that motorists are speeding through these state routes that don't have any control intersection. Like Route 31 specifically through Batavia has actually only 4 traffic signals in a stretch of like 3.5, 4-mile stretch. So there are a lot of crossings that are uncontrolled and people try to cross. Like one of the uncontrolled crossing is going to the forest preserve that we have at Millview, where an accident happened and the bicyclist actually died a couple of days later. So we found that, the car was, we don't know what was the speed, but when our police department go out there, they find that the cars are exceeding 10, 15 miles an hour in the speed limit. So what we have tried with IDOT previously is like install some speed feedback sign. Like, it says speed limit 35, and at the bottom it says your speed, and it displays your speed. You guys have seen that probably all over Chicagoland. IDOT currently doesn't allow those speed feedback signs on their state routes. I was just thinking, from advocacy side, what can we do to have them, either temporarily install those signs or permanently, allow cities or even themselves to install those signs. Because, sometimes, and historically, roads were always designed to go faster. And we as a society, we always go fast, and faster than the speed limit. And obviously, with pedestrians and bicyclists and, the mindset is changing, where we have more people are out on the road, but the motorists are not changing as fast. And then sometimes, the roads are designed in such a way that you go fast and you don't always realize that. The cars are better, now you have a 5-year-old car and you go 10 plus, or 50 miles, 55 miles, and you don't even realize that you're going fast. So those signs are helpful. I mean, at least for me, I drive through a few of those signs every day and I see it and I'm like, okay, I'm going fast. So can we do something, just as a food for thought in future to have IDOT change their mindset to allow us to install those signs? We'll be sending a request to IDOT. We have sent 3 times before and it got denied. With the recent events, we hope that they will reconsider our request. But at a broader sense, if we can have them change their mind, that will help, or at least start the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I was not aware that those were not allowed on state roads. So thanks for bringing that up, and I'll make sure to share with some others, other staff, and yeah, I'll keep you updated if I hear anything about if anything will be changing related to that.
And Rahad, just to be clear, these are the signs that if you are approaching it, it gives you your actual speed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. I understand. Thanks.
And, engineers are going to go by the book, and if it's not in the book, they're not going to do it. So it may be, thinking, getting support from communities around the state, like not just in Chicagoland, could help to sway that policy decision.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. IDOT standard response is our policy is not to allow those signs, period, So that policy needs to change. And I would be honest, I don't think everybody, like the everyday people that see that sign, and if there is no enforcement, they tend to like not pay attention to that. But there are some people out there who will see the sign and slow down. I mean, I'm one of those, that will see the sign. I'm like, yeah, it's I'm fast. Sometimes you're going with the traffic and that's fine. But depending on where the road is, like Route 31, it divides Batavia in two parts. We call it east side of the town and west side of the town. And we have our river walk and the trails and all the activities on the east side. So people from west side is always trying to come on east side. The kids in summer, they're coming to the pool. They want to come to get their ice cream to the east side. So the kids are always crossing. And even though you teach the kids, to pay attention and all, it's not only the kids, the other side of the coin is the drivers. Drivers are not always paying attention. So.
Well, I'm glad you guys are doing a road diet along that road. Like that's like that.
Yes.
That
right.
will hopefully help calm some traffic, but I think many things are needed to slow people down. But I think it's thank you for flagging this issue. So we'll look into it. So
thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate you jumping on the call today. It looks like there are a handful of other events that I'll make sure that were in the chat that I'll make sure to share out. And yeah, look for an email with the recording and links. So thank you all, and we'll enjoy the beautiful weather and the weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you. Going out for a ride
Thanks,
now.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.